creator Sally Estlin and the founder of Empowered Clothing. I empower women over 50 to create a conscious and intentional lifestyle on my show, Finding Your Way with Sally Estlin. And hi everyone, yes, I'm Sally and I'm a content creator and a holistically fit specialist, and I share authentic and everyday issues for women over 50. So you can learn more about my products and services at empoweredclothing.com.au. So welcome today, and the topic today is how to ditch the negative head talk with Empowerment Alchemist Alyson Williams, who's going to be our featured guest. So before I bring Ali up from the green room, I'll just introduce her with a short little bio. So Alyson Williams is an empowerment alchemist, meaning her focus is on inner transformation. Alyson's coaching practices are about healing and freeing the inner parts of ourselves that need to be changed, because transforming these parts of us leads to inner liberation, freedom from our fears and beliefs that no longer serve us. So Ali's passion is self-love and empowerment for her clients. She knows that how we feel about ourselves is reflected in every aspect of our lives. Her approach is to empower her clients to love themselves and live a life they love on their own terms, from baby steps to self-reliance. She walks with her clients till they can fly on their own with the strategies, tools, and confidence she provides them. She's a transformational coach, a relationship coach for individual and couples, a neuro-linguistic programming master coach, that's a mouthful, extended DISC Behaviour Analysis Practitioner and emotional fitness specialist, hypnotherapist, Bling angel, and energy healer. She uses all the tools in her toolkit to facilitate her clients' journeys towards creating and sustaining the life they desire. So without further ado, let's bring up Ali, who has got a wealth of a massive big toolbox there. Hey, Ali.
Hi, Sal. That's one of the many things we have in common, huh? Big toolbox, lots of tools.
Absolutely. So I just love that the topic today, having you as a featured guest, about how to ditch the negative head talk, because that's what we're all about. So give us some of your thoughts about negative head talk.
Well, for a start, I always say I'm a word nerd because I really love words, and writing is one of my superpowers. So when I'm actually writing, I choose words very carefully, and when I'm speaking as well, I also like to make sure that I'm choosing the proper words to have the desired effect that I want to create. So the words we use are so important because, words have energy. Mm-hmm. So choosing words is quite fundamental to not just getting your message across in terms of communicating your thought processes, but also the energy that you're bringing out and putting out to the world, and the energy that your communication is having with the other person. So it is just all so important. But quite often when we talk to ourselves, we tend to forget all those niceties that we have when we talk to other people. We sort of are really mindful of our manners. We're really mindful of saying please and thank you to other people. We're really mindful of being kind and not being nasty. But when we talk to ourselves, that tends to go out the window.
Oh, we say that all the time. What you say to yourself in your head, you wouldn't say to your worst enemy. I mean, the energy behind that, as you said, words and thoughts are energy. And I shared a story before about I had a plant that was basically dead and yeah, I said, just throw it out. And I said, no, like, give me a week. So for a week I did water it, but it was out getting watered with the other plants. But I spoke to it nicely every single day. And within a week, it started to shoot again. And now it's this blooming, beautiful, literally blooming gardenia bush. And I thought, if I can do that to a plant, imagine the damage I'm doing myself with the words that I say to my all the time. But imagine if I shifted that and started to be nicer to myself. Imagine how that could grow. And, there's, lots of studies done it, like with the water crystals, with Dr. Emoto and all those, that Japanese, like heaps of it. So, it's so damaging, the thoughts that we're putting into our head, that inner critic. It's there to sabotage and put us down. It's our go-to, really, isn't it?
It is. And what happens is that we then get stuck in that. And as we know, the neurons that fire together, wire together. So we are creating those neural pathways. The more we think something negative about ourselves, the more we are actually entrenching that in our subconscious mind. And that's how we show up. And that becomes our identity. We might not be aware of it. And that's the most damaging thing. We're not actually aware But every time we say something nasty to ourselves or negative to ourselves, we are just creating that path a bit deeper. You know, that old thing, like when you're walking on the sand, on virgin sand, you walk on it and then you can see the footpath, the footprints. But
Yep.
the more people walk up and down, it then becomes like, you know, like a rut. And if you do it in the bush, again, the same thing, the undergrowth will get a little flat. But if they keep walking, then the undergrowth stops growing and there's only dirt. And that is happening in our heads. The more we do that, the more it's actually firing all our neurons in our body. And the more that's how we think of ourselves, that's how we show up. And that's why I say self-love is so important, because how you feel about yourself is how you show up. So if you think, oh God, I'm a loser, you're going to show up as a loser.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to say that. People will just get those vibes from you. So, you know, we are all magnificent, is one of the things I always say. We're all, you know, we have a birthright of being fabulous, of being worthy, of being lovable, and we need to make sure that we believe that ourselves and that we live from that. So cutting the negative head talk is a definite way to start living in that space and getting rid of all the stuff that's dragging you down. You don't need other people to drag you down when you're doing it for yourself, right? So cut that off.
Exactly. And, you know, we've got to remember that we're all born as these beautiful, open-minded, untouched, gorgeous little human beings.
Yeah.
And then just life, it just layers on top of us, from learned behavior, from family, from, you know, conditioning. And we just go into autopilot where it just becomes very normal that the head talk is just very negative, and it's so damaging. If we can rewind and take us back to being innocent little kids, exploring and not being caught up with the external judgment, criticism, all that sort of stuff, expectations, imagine how beautiful the world would be, and how we would be better to ourselves and about ourselves. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, you can go into the whole science about, you know, how when we're young, we're kind of egocentric because that's how we all are, and then the programming and all the stuff that gets, you know, sort of laid over us, all the crud, as I like to call it, that, you know, then that kind of creates who we think we are. And that, as children, because we're egocentric, we hear one thing and we make a mountain out of a molehill. So somebody says that's wrong, and you think, I'm hopeless, I can't do it, or I'm a loser, or whatever little kids might think, right? And then if somebody says something else, again, it's almost like that confirmation bias that your RAS, your reticulating, you know, activating system, that then looks for evidence to say, yes, it's true. I'm useless, or I'm hopeless, or I'm not very good. And we need to now, I mean, that's when we're children, we don't actually, we're not necessarily aware of that. But as adults, we are aware of it because now more people are talking about it. So we now have the ability to undo all the crap from the past, all our programming.
Yeah.
But also stop doing that stuff to ourselves. I mean, we all like to go out looking clean and neat, you know, pretty clothes, makeup, whatever. So when your outside is really great, you need to make sure that you're also looking after your inside.
And you said a really important thing before. We can't change what we don't know. We have to start with the awareness. We have to have the awareness that we're saying these terrible things to ourselves and thinking these things, and because we can't change it. And for me, it's stopping and pausing and recognizing and saying, hang on, hang on, what was that I just said to myself? Oh, you're an idiot. Oh, you're such a loser, you know. Oh, you're just dumb, you're stupid, you can't do it. You know, how many times have we said that to ourselves over the lifetime? And then, as we said, it just becomes autopilot. But if you can actually stop and pause and recognize the things you're saying in your head and what you're thinking, oh my goodness, you know, stop, pause, and then it's a choice. Totally. And that's where you can empower yourself, because this show is all about empowering women over 50 in their everyday life, you know, how to make little small changes that have magnificent effect down the track. So stop, pause, and then make a choice.
No, totally, because as you say, some of the stuff we do unconsciously, because I used to say, you know, one of my favorite things is say, oh God, I'm an idiot, right? And then when I started realizing that was my negative self-talk, because I didn't realize for the longest time, but once I started, you know, doing self-love and being a coach and stuff, then I started looking at, you know, am I walking my talk? And I realized this is something I used to say to myself. So it doesn't matter at what point I realized, is again what I say to clients and people I talk to, as soon as you realize you've started, stop. So, God, no, I'm not an idiot. I just made a mistake, right? So it doesn't matter where you realize it, just stop yourself and reframe it. Say something positive instead. Like, no, I'm not an idiot. I just made a mistake. And that's part of being human. One of the other things too that, as Aussies, we're very good at being self-deprecating. Because as Aussies, we have tall poppy syndrome. We don't like people who kind of put themselves out there. Look at me, I'm wonderful.
Yeah.
And that becomes a bit of a problem, because one of the things I used to do is I sort of have a go at myself, say something nasty say something negative about myself, because that was just part of, having fun. That was just part of how, people interacted. But that's the thing in the past. I don't do any of that crap anymore. And quite often, again, you sort of think, I'm feeling really self-conscious. So I'd say at first, like people who hadn't seen me for a long time, I'd maybe put on a bit of weight. I go, I put on so much weight. Yeah. Like, why am I saying that? They might not even realize. And quite often they go, no, we didn't realize that. Well, maybe they were just being polite. But even if they weren't, I don't need to put that shit out there, pardon my language. If that's what they're thinking, that's what they're thinking, and that's on them.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do, as I say, what other people think of you is none of your business, right?
Yeah, I like that saying.
So don't put it out there. Don't even think it. Try and kill that off.
Yeah. Look, it's a really good point, because I did struggle through COVID here and I went through menopause, so the stress, the everything, put on a shit ton of weight, to be perfectly honest. And it was just, and I exercising, all that sort of stuff, and it was just the body, it's just what I was going through. And that was a really good challenge for me to get back into the positive head talk, because it was like, how you can read people when they're looking at you, and you can see, like you were saying, you can literally hear the words coming out of their brain of like, oh my God.
Energy, right?
Yeah. And you can't help it. You can see it's the look, it's whatever, it's the vibe. And I just go, okay, but I overcame that, because that's where I thought, okay, I could be affected by that or choose to empower myself and go, you know what? I'm exactly the same person. I've got the same spirit inside, just because the external is changing.
Yeah.
And that was a really good challenge for me, because, my weight fluctuates with my mood, my hormones, my level of, mental health, really happy, really sad. Like a lot of people are like that, and very sensitive to their own emotions. And I thought, I am exactly the same person. And so, like, let that stuff go. But it did take me a long time to step back outside into social circles and just, have my head up high, just going, I'm still the same me. And you don't know what someone else is going through. And that's part of it, putting yourself in other people's shoes and going, I wonder what's going on there. But one of the key things that we could really empower women with today is just stop and start afresh today. And just, let go. My mantra is let go, step up, and be more. And this is where you can let go of the past things you said to. That's it. Shut the door on it. Just like, let's start afresh today and step up today with changing a few things. Catching yourself when you're going down that path with the negative talk, and then just being more of that compassionate person to yourself, bringing in self-love yourself, which is what you're all about, Ali.
Of course, because as we say, today is the first day of the rest of your life, because the past doesn't matter. It's gone, right? Yeah. And I mean, one of the things I say is I give my clients, tools and tips and strategies. So if you're getting in the car to drive to your future, put all these tools in your boot or trunk if you're American, and then start driving and look ahead, because that's where you're going, right? Of course, you look at the mirror and the side mirrors just to check, to get some awareness of what's around you.
Yeah.
You do need to look at what's behind you so that you can have that awareness. But you don't want to be driving with your eyes on the rear vision mirror, or you'll crash. Exactly. So for me, looking in the rear vision mirror is about learning the lessons from our life, because you don't get to be 50 and over without having fallen down a few times. And as I say, it doesn't matter how many times you fall down, as long as you get up one more time, right?
Yeah.
So learning those lessons, not perpetuating them, but not living in them either, and just moving forward, having discovered that they are teaching you something to make you better, stronger, whatever it might be.
Yeah, because life is all about learning from your lessons.
Totally.
Everything, as we always say, can be perceived in a positive or a negative way, but there's always gold to be taken out of every experience. And it's perspective, and that's why you need the rear view mirror to put it back into perspective of where you're going forward. And as you say, if you're not looking forward, you're going to smash. If you're too busy looking sideways and backwards, What's the point? So today you've brought along a beautiful empowerment share and all, you know, something that you can talk to for all of us. Give yourself some grace. Treat yourself with kindness and compassion when you feel you least deserve it. Treat yourself with the love and compassion you would a loved one, example, your best friend or child. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that? We were talking about that before.
Sure, but you know, quite often when we're feeling really down, like you, when you have one of those fat days, as you know, particularly when you're hormonal,
Yeah.
and you kind of think, oh my God, I feel so ugly. Well, you think, okay, well, I'm kind of not feeling great at the moment, but as you said before, who I am on the inside is the same. And it's not about, you know, how I think I'm looking. It's how I want to be perceived. It's how I want to show up. So I'm maybe not feeling kind of very attractive for whatever reason. Maybe, you know, when we used to have periods or whatever, you feel really bloated. But I know, thank God that's gone. But it's really about, you know, we're more than just our physical beings. We are emotional and intellectual beings. We're you know, a combination. So treat yourself with love and kindness and compassion, looking at all the things that you are rather than all the things that you aren't. And when you're feeling really low is when you really need to be giving yourself that kindness and that compassion. Because when we're feeling really low, we tend to, you know, it's human nature, we tend to sort of, you know, beat up on ourselves even more. Or we go for that chocolate, or we go for, you know, that glass of wine, that extra glass of wine or whatever we don't need. And then that becomes a downward spiral. So rather than do that, is to say, just stop and say reset. And one of the things I always say about emotions, you know, why am I feeling like this? Try and understand where it's coming from and sit in that emotion. Really honor your emotions, because trying to push it under the carpet means you'll just trip up over it. So see where it's coming from and understand, you know what, I'm feeling really bad like this because I am hormonal at the moment, or I am feeling really bloated.
Yeah.
Am I going to let that ruin my day? No. Because we only have so many days on earth, and as you get over 50, there are fewer than we had before. So I want to make every day count.
Yeah.
The fact I'm feeling bloated or feeling like, you know, blah, I'm just going to leave behind, because I want to really have a great day. Because intention is everything as well. So when you go with the intention, you know, then you will actually live from that intention and that energy. So treating yourself with kindness and compassion when you need it most is when you feel like it the least, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that. Intention is everything. But also honoring those emotions, because we can't just tuck them under the carpet. We can't allow them to flow through us because they're real. And some days we just got to write it off. But if we hang on to those emotions, it amplifies them, it gives them drama, and they become stories, they turn into limiting beliefs. Emotions are emotions, and there's something we have to feel and allow them to flow through us. And that took me a very long time to really realize that some days are just really shitty, and it's just like, it is what it is, but I'm not going to be shitty tomorrow.
No.
I'm just going to let it go. It's like, you know how people say, just go and have a good night's sleep and sleep it off, you'll be okay. And as hormonal beings, we know, particularly as women, the highs and the lows that we have with our hormones. It's crazy. It's like, you know, PMS, oh my gosh, but then menopause, the highs and the lows. So these emotions are real. We have to honor them and just say, hey, I'm feeling shitty today, or I'm feeling cross, or I'm feeling exhausted, or I can't explain it, I just feel weird. That's real life. You know, and so we don't need to keep amplifying that with the negative head talk, and just be more compassionate and loving with ourselves, and just saying it is what it is, and tomorrow will be a different day.
Totally. And as you were talking, I was just thinking, I'm the youngest of 5, so I had 3 older brothers. And the brother just above me, you know, we were kind of close because we're closest in age. The others are quite a deal older than me. The difference between my eldest sister and me is 11 years. Then the one just before me was 5 years, so we were kind of closest in age. But he used to tease me, and he used to, because when I gave up smoking, I put on a whole lot of weight, you know, really soon, in a short amount of time. He used to call me Fat Ally. Now, I was, I think, about 19 or 20 at that time, and I obviously was fat, you know, compared to how I used to be, because I'd always just been a normal-sized kid. And, you know, sometimes those sort of things, so if I'm feeling a little bit overweight, I definitely am at the moment, but, you know, if I sort of remember how Russell used to call me Fat Ally, and I let that play on my mind, or if you were unlucky enough to have one of those spouses who used to say, you put on a bit of weight, you better lose it. I was very lucky I never had one of those and still don't. Then those old demons can come back to haunt us, even though, we are much more mature, much more advanced in our experience and in our life and even in our common sense. But those insecurities, I guess what I'm saying is those insecurities can still come and haunt us. And the real power is to conquer them. Don't let them run you, you run them.
And I think as we get older, we become wiser and we become more resilient. So I know the same thing. I backpacked for 3 years, and leaving Australia where we're so isolated, and back in the 80s, the only takeaway food we had was Chinese. And then I went to America for a year and, developed a passport bum. That's what it's called. You get your passport, leave the country, and you're eating all this wild food and boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, people, when they caught up with me and I was 21 and my friends caught up with me, I think in London, what happened to you, Sal? I went up about 4 sizes and I said, I left the country. I've got a passport bum, But it did make me a bit paranoid. These days, now I'm more empowered to say, well, okay, some things are a choice and some things, it's part of aging, because we're aging gracefully, right? So in some ways, to others, we might be sort of dimming our light on our looks, and, that's just another personal way of seeing yourself. But really, we're so empowered inside. That's what I love working with women over 50, because this light is lit within, where we don't give a shit about a lot of the stuff we used to give a shit about. Like, we just don't.
No. I know, because all the lines on my face, they all tell a story.
They're charm lines. Woo-hoo.
Exactly. And every story is one that I honor, including the harsh ones and the sad ones and the really devastating ones, because they've made me who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you Botox it out, you can't see your beautiful charm lines, because there's a story here and there and there and there.
Totally. And then you won't be able to move anyway. I actually had some Botox years ago because I had some migraines and stuff. And oh my God, they're so painful. Plus, they used to be really expensive. I started to scream at the neurologist's office. I said to him, I can't believe people actually pay to go through this agony.
Yeah.
And why would you? Because that's part of your charm, right? That's part of who you are.
I mean, to be fair, it is a choice. And if you choose because it's important to you and if it makes you feel better, I've always said that about plastic surgery or anything. If it's your personal choice and it makes you feel better, do it, right? But I do love reading lines on a face. When you see some old actresses like Helen Mirren, and you can see they've lived a life, right? And it's like, oh, wow, amazing. But anyway, talking about your empowerment share, all about that, we've also got an empowerment tip. So your expert tip, change your negative self-talk. 1, get rid of disempowering words that shame and blame, like must or should. We kind of mentioned these a little bit before. Speak nicely to yourself. Stop yourself as soon as you become aware of being self-abusive, and rephrase your comments. So, comment or comments. We sort of touched on that before, but do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because they're really good tips to share, Al.
Yeah, so those shame and blame words, like I must or I should, are really ones that can kind of bring you down, because, I am all about self-love, but it's also about empowerment. And empowerment, as you say, is about choice. And when you choose, in fact, even with the Botox, whatever, if that's what you're choosing for you, rather than because, some man or some woman or some other person has said that's what you need to do, that's not sort of empowering. So the same with your words, choose the words that make you feel good. So instead of saying, I really must vacuum, which then makes you feel like, well, it makes me feel good, I say, I really choose to vacuum. I really want to vacuum because I want to live in an environment that's nice and clean. Or I really want to enjoy this. That's why I'm going to do that. I really should is, again, one of those, those shame, blame, makes you kind of feel, lost my train of thought. It makes you, it takes away your power, right?
Yep.
So I'm not doing this because I should. I'm doing it because I want to.
Yep.
So instead of saying I really should go and visit my mother in the nursing home, I wish I could actually. You think I really want to go and see my mum before it's too late and she's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really about reframing, not using the words to reframe our whole thinking, our whole thought pattern. And then, my mum used to say, either do it with a good heart or don't do it at all. And then when you come from a place of choice and empowerment, it changes your whole inside. You actually want to do it. And you can do it with a smile, or you do it with joy.
Mm.
And if you're not doing it with joy, you shouldn't do it at all, I don't believe.
Yeah. The power of words is just so, once you understand what you're thinking and what you're saying, and when it comes out of your mouth, like those words of lack, I could, I should, or I need, or I want, there is as if you don't have enough already, when there's abundance all around us. So our use of words is really important. And, like you said before, oh, I'm such an idiot, whatever. And it's just, if once we understand what we're doing to ourselves, think of my story about the plant. Imagine if we could make ourselves bloom from the inside out. It would be amazing. So
the other thing I just want to add again about those words is, again, it's all about how it resonates for you. So I now use the word need, meaning it's important. So I need to vacuum means it's important for me to vacuum, right? In the same way, I need to go to the toilet, because that's a really important need. If I don't go, I'm going to be in a world of hurt. So for me, I say need, but that's a choice, because I have now redefined need to mean importance, empowerment, rather than disempowerment. So the words, like anything, whatever we do, it should be a choice that uplifts us rather than brings us down.
That's hilarious, because that segues right into what I was just about to talk about, is linking it in with the clothing, right? It's because this empowered clothing is very much stepping into that. So the light racer back blue one has, I choose to be heard. It's a choice. So I'm choosing to be heard. And then the long sleeve ones are about it's speaking with truth, love, and acceptance, like I'm wearing. So it's a choice, but I want to be speaking my truth. I want to be speaking from a place of love and accepting what it is without judgment, expressing the truth. It's super important. And, and when you're lighting a candle, for example, the candles, you're stepping into that, empowering yourself with that affirmation. I'm choosing to be heard. You've got a presentation coming up. You light it, or you've got your little angel light bracelet, and you're sort of touching that and empowering yourself by stepping into that energy. Because we've been talking about energy today of words, but your thoughts, right? So where are you sending your thoughts? Because where your attention goes, your energy flows, which is what we're all about, right? So this is all about communication, self-expression, clarity, all that sort of thing. So you're right into the chakras too, Ali, aren't you?
I am. I just want to say, Sal, I really love how you have integrated everything. You've taken the clothing, and that's a beautiful shot of you, by the way, and even a lovely one of Beck. I love that yours is very kind of contemplative and pensive and thinking about stuff, and Beck's is very kind of fun, which is all about who you are. It's all about your clothing. And I also love the fact that you now have things like the candles with the with the crystals in it, and you've got the crystal stone, the crystal bracelets, and you also have sprays and stuff, which is just awesome.
I know. But
it's integrated. I love how you're doing this.
Something really empowering is journaling, right? I know it's not something that you're particularly into, but we do often talk about bringing things up and out, just bringing them up and putting it down, because you're bringing that energy up and out and writing it down. Like journaling is so cathartic. It's a really good way to release. You know how we were talking about letting go of emotions? Writing it down in a journal is a powerful way.
I'm not a journaler I don't do a daily journal, but when I've got heavy duty crap to get rid of, that's when I journal. And then I find that, the pen just takes my hand away and stuff comes out I'm not even aware. A really good tip for when you've got conflict with anyone, maybe even yourself, is do it in writing, do it on a journal, and maybe have a conversation. So one of the things I actually say to clients and what have you is, if you've got a conflict, even with someone who's passed over, have two chairs. On one chair, you're that person, and on the other chair, you're yourself, and then have a conversation. And it's amazing when you sit in the other person's chair, you become them.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. But you can even do that in writing. And I find the journaling process I've used for that purpose really well. But I love your journal, the fact that it's got so much mindfulness stuff, including colouring in.
I know. It's got the mandalas inside of it. And, once a week you sort of review where you've been at and look at the week that was and what could you change or tweak moving forward. It's just a very, very powerful tool, because we're all about providing people with tools and techniques to just create more positive change in their lives. Like, that's just what we're all about. So, yeah. So, yeah, as the throat chakra, it's just really important to, speak your truth because, particularly if we've got to the age that we're at, it's just life's too short to just be nice all the time. I mean, not saying you don't have to be nice, but just to speak your truth from a place of love, respect, and dignity. You can't beat that, right? It's super, super, super powerful.
And people seem to think that speaking your truth means that you necessarily have to be negative or nasty. You don't. It's about being respectful. It's about not just respecting the other person, but respecting yourself as well. Because choosing the words you use is not just about being negative or positive. It's about the kind of message you want to create. And people are not going to be listening. When people are sort of being kind of negative, you tend to switch off. So even if you've got something that might be what I call a difficult conversation, the way you come at it will make a big difference. And choosing the right words can make a whole lot of difference. Because one of the things, as you know, being an NLP practitioner, I no longer say don't forget. I say remember. And even when I'm about to write that down, like I did with my partner, I was going to say his son rang yesterday and we were in the middle of something. And I was going to say, don't forget to ring Stephen. And I thought, no, remember to ring Steve. But even little things like that, because the subconscious doesn't process don't. So please get don't out of your vocabulary as well.
I love that.
Try and phrase it in a positive way. So remember as opposed to don't forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ali, one last parting little tip that you'd like to share with everyone before we go. I actually quite like that. We're going to start using remember instead of don't forget. But anything you'd like to impart to our guests, to our audience, before you depart yourself?
Just choose your words. And if whatever words you're choosing, think about them and give them the energy you want. As I said, I use need now, not as a shame and blame word, but as a word of importance. And the other thing is, don't let anybody else including me, tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Do what works for you. And if that's what you want to do, own it. Because speaking your truth is not just the words you use, it's also how you're living your life.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Ali. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure.
More than ever, this is something where we can get back into the driver's seat and take ownership of, the words that we're saying, the words that we're thinking, and ditch that inner critic and bring up that inner coach, really bring them to the forefront. And it's just about having that awareness and the intention, like you said before, because we have the ability to change our lives. And once we hit our 50s, come on, we're here for a good time. We're not here for a long time. So let's enjoy the moments, hey?
Totally. And of course, I've always got something to say. There is one other thing. Also be mindful of the words you allow other people to use to you. So, if you don't like those words, say, look, Sal, I would really rather you didn't kind of say that when we're talking or whatever. So not allow people, and especially kids, don't necessarily realize how they're sort of treating us. It's up to us to teach people how to treat us. So
yeah, fantastic, Ali. I can't thank you enough for being on our show, finding you.
My pleasure.
And we look forward to having another chat with you down the track.
Always.
And we're just saying, get out there and just do little simple tweaks because it makes a huge amount of difference in your life. We've done it, right? We're walking the talk, babe.
Totally. Thanks, Sal.
I'll see you next time, babe. I'll just drop you down. See you. Bye. So everyone, hang on. We're still going. So thank you, and join me for another episode of Finding Your Way with Sally Estlin next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time and Thursday at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So yes, why not? If not today, when are you going to start ditching that negative head talk and just start being more positive and let the inner coach overtake your life? It's the only way to live your life. So with that, I'll look forward to seeing you all again next time, and I'll just bring this on and I'll say goodbye.